When I hear you talk about love and the ethics of love, I often hear words like honor and respect.
Yes.
As going hand in hand. I wonder if you'd speak to
Yeah.
that connection. What does respect have to do with love?
So what has been formative for me here is one day I was looking at a study Bible and looking at these 3 commands, and then the study Bible referred me to Leviticus. I had not realized until 10 years ago, whatever, maybe 12 years ago, that when Jesus gives the 2 love commands, he's quoting. I had just always assumed that he was just capturing the essence.
Yeah.
But there in the footnote it says Leviticus 19, verse 18. Yeah. So I go to Leviticus 19, verse 18. And there I read, love your neighbor as yourself. But what I discover is that this comes at the conclusion of, I've never actually counted them, but a long list of you shalls and you shall not. Let's just say 59 of them. It covers about 3 chapters.
A great many.
You shall reprove your neighbor when your neighbor does wrong. You shall treat your neighbor justly. You shall not render unjust judgments, and so forth. And so I thought, there's this long tradition of conflict, of supposed tension between love and justice. And lo and behold, when we look at Leviticus, at the passage that Jesus is actually quoting from, we see that examples of doing justice are cited as examples of loving your neighbor. So that was for me a revelatory experience, and I should have. I felt, what an idiot I've been all these years. I should have known this long ago. Yeah. But turns out that very few Christian ethicists, to my astonishment, take note of the fact that the second love command is a quotation from Leviticus 19, and why that should be. Once you look there and you see that justice is an example of doing love, then the long tradition of pitting justice and love against each other has to go.
Yeah. So using Jesus' interpretation of really the entire Old Testament law, you're suggesting that those love commands, that the command to love God and love neighbor, come first in priority, and then all those other commands really are expressions.
Yes.
Of those 2 commands.
Right. So I think that Leviticus 19, 18, where you read love your neighbor as yourself, and then the 3 chapters of detailed you shall not. I think we have to read all of those. I haven't actually counted them, but let's say 59 of them. And then in effect, you have to read it like this. In short, in short, as in sum, love your neighbor as yourself. That's how I mean, what's going on here, Evan, is so I read, and everybody reads this command as it occurs in the New Testament, love your neighbor as yourself. It's basically got no context there, which will enable you to interpret as to what's meant by love. So my principle has been, in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, it does have context. Context doesn't always help you to interpret, but it often does. And in this case, it seems to me it clearly helps to interpret. Yeah. And it seems to me that Jesus and his interlocutors would have had that context in their mind.
Yeah. And this is to now draw the connection back to shalom as well, because insofar as those commands help to secure shalom in a community.
Yep.
That's
in effect how Moses introduces this long series of commands for
how to live together.
Israel, for the shalom of the community in old Israel. Now be akthos.
Yeah.